welcome to the first ever. Oh man, I got noise going in the background. Let me turn this off. I can do that and then set that to live. Just make sure I'm caught up on everything that's going on out there. Gentlemen, welcome to the first ever post-game live show after Super Bowl Sunday. I don't think I've done one previously. Bear with me. I had to go to the camera on my laptop because for whatever reason I cannot get my mirrorless camera to work. So I am really winging it here. I guess if everybody could kind of comment and tell me if you can hear me. I can't tell because I'm having to do some craziness with the camera here. I'm slowly setting up an office here in my house, so I'm trying to figure it out. I have no idea what I'm doing, to be honest. And so, hey, baby steps. So, did everybody watch the Super Bowl? I did a little bit of it. And, hey, 3-3 going into the fourth quarter is not very exciting. So it is what it is. And, all my wife cared about was the post-game show, of course. I mean, the halftime show. And I'm not even sure if that was even any good. I've yet to see kind of what everybody on the pop culture front had to say about it, but I'm sure it was just regarded incredibly negatively. But then again, what is really looked at as being all that great? Okay. Everybody says they can hear me, and I'm gonna kind of play with this here to make sure I can see everything that's going on. I think I like this a little bit better here. I think I really like this a lot better. It's not all up in my face. Hopefully it won't rise. You know what's going on. All right, we'll get started. So, for those of you that are just tuning in for the first time, this is the weekly lawn and garden show. I come on Sundays live to do a little bit of a Q&A session. So, for those of you that have questions about your lawn, I would love to answer them. This is an open format meeting. I take the show in the direction that y'all ask for. So, I answer questions, wherever the questions may lead us, I will go down that road. So, for those of you that are just tuning in, this is typically the point of the show where I say what's going on to everybody. What's up, YouTube? First and foremost, and secondly, roll call. Now, for everybody in the chat, I'm going to go ahead and throw this out here. I had a comment on a video that said, I wish you would not say hello to your buddies every week. So I want to know from everybody that's in the chat, do y'all want me to continue with roll call, or are we going to put an end to it? I'm going to leave that open to the viewers. That is not my decision to make. That is your decision to make. This is ultimately your show after all. I am just the moderator. So, do y'all want me to do away with the roll call, or do you want me to continue with the roll call? Entirely up to you. Oh, to hell with it. Tonight we are definitely doing the roll call. So, I'm going to jump over to the chat and see what is going on over here. I saw tuning in earlier with some familiar faces. So, I'm going to quickly jump through this. What's up, Jay Wyrick? What's up, Chris Foy? What's up, Toby Howard? What's up, Thomas Giondon? What's up, PPC Paul's Prime Cuts? Chris Elms, good seeing you earlier today. Miss Beverage, how are you? Hey, thanks. Yeah, my hair is a little crazy. I do have hair, not much. It's falling out at an alarming rate. So I do what I can. You know what I'm saying? Telly Coleman, what's going on? Glad you're here, Chris. What? Mr. Gillespie, way up on the far side of Tennessee, the beautiful part of Tennessee, might I add. I'm not going to say it's more beautiful than where I'm at. Just kidding, it's definitely prettier than where I'm at. Thank you for tuning in, Mr. Gillespie. Mr. I Fish, how are you, good sir? Brian Noor cannot fix the amount of just pandemonium going on in here. He can teach me a lot of things, but how to make my life more productive and less chaotic, I don't think Ryan has it in him. I'm going to be honest. You know what I'm saying? Lambert, what's going on? Dave Rees, John Teague. Ted said in roll call. Don't listen. That's funny. That's funny. Ryan said continue with the roll call. Rev D, yes sir, roll call. My goodness. Oh, I've got sync issues. I did not think about that. I probably have all kinds of sync issues. In fact, I may be able to do a little real-time edit on the sync issues. I completely forgot. I'm not going through my normal camera, so bear with me here. I may be able to fix it. I'm going to be honest. I don't know if I can because this is not my thing. Like, I'm about as technically inclined as... Nope. Sure don't know how to fix it while it's going. That is for sure. I hit some settings there and I got really overwhelmed with everything. Looks like I saw a couple of questions coming in just real quick while I'm working on this. Is there a shelf life to Carbon X? I'm going to say yeah, but it's going to be a really long one. So it'll be like a typical bag of fertilizer will, right? So, if a bag of fertilizer typically is going to last you, it's going to be a year or longer as long as you keep it in a relatively dry place. It'll handle temperature swings, no problem there. So it's just a matter of keeping it dry. Don't leave it out in the rain for an extended period of time and expect it to be okay. It will not be okay in that regard. Wow, I am trying everything I can here, and it is just... I don't think I'm going to be able to fix the lag in the audio while I'm going. I could probably stop it and come back to it, but, I don't know if I feel comfortable doing that. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying. Okay, so we will move on here. Look at this in the chat. Oh! I lost my mic. It rolled out of there. Let me tighten that back down so that does not happen again. My goodness. That thing just ran away from me. Did you see that? It fell to the depths. All right, so let me scroll on down here to the bottom of the chat. So here we go. Here's a good question here coming in. I think it kind of pertains to everything that's going on. Matt, can you talk about pre-emergent prodiamine app and timing? I'm doing half yearly max in late winter and half in late summer. Warm season turf. Okay, Lambert, so what you're saying is you are running... Okay. Max in late winter, okay. Okay, half in late winter and half in late summer. Yeah, I mean, that's about how you're supposed to do it. So typically that would look like February, February time frame, somewhere in there. Depending on where you're at, I'm just going to throw this out here. I'm going to assume you're in the transition zone south. February, first app, and then second app would be, sometime around 1st of September, maybe even the last week of August. Also, what about summer supplement of dithiapyr and gallery? Yeah, absolutely, you can do that. However, is it necessary? Probably not. Now, gallery is going to offer you a different mode of action, so I like that as a supplement, as an early summer supplement. But dithiapyr is the same mode of action of prodiamine, so you're not really going to gain a whole lot more. Now, if you're running it at a single app max rate of dithiapyr with a surfactant, big thanks to Ray, the Green Doc of Hawaii, for that tip. With a surfactant, then you can get some of that post control, but that's assuming you're having problems with crabgrass after applying prodiamine. And if you are having problems with crabgrass after applying prodiamine, there's something else wrong. So I would be more concerned with what went wrong that you had the failure, more so than I would be trying to throw in an early summer app of dithiapyr. Now, gallery. So if you're dealing with things that are difficult to control on the broadleaf weed side, so we'll say like chamber bitter, Gallery would be a great product to apply for your chamber bitter. So how about that? So I'm going to go down that road. More modes of actions is always better than a single mode of action. So in the mind of the plant and in the mind of the soil, there is no distinguishable difference between dithiopyr or prodiamine. So there we go. Why can I not just scroll through this chat? My goodness. Turf Nerd Lawn Care. What's going on, David? Watkins. Dano. Look at all these roll calls. That's what I'm saying. Look, let's go get them. Ken Titus, Hoosier Blue, Benjamin Zibbit. Does the RGS and Carbon X replace the need to use RGS in the bottle? No, Mike R. I would not go that far. And I got choked. And the reason being is that you're going to have a foliar uptake from spraying RGS. So you're going to have a little bit different action in the plant. You'll have probably a more complete action in the plant through a liquid foliar RGS application than you would through a granular. Again, the idea of putting RGS in the granular form was to help out guys in the pro market that are stuck to running granular products. And it was an option for them to do as much as they could with a granular fertilizer. If you have the ability to do liquids, spray it in a liquid. John McLaren, what's going on, man? I enjoyed my time in Iowa with you. It was good to meet you and the wife. Jake the Long Kid, what's up, man? Hey, man, I was going through that email. Good stuff. I got a lot to add to it. Andrew says, roll call, sucker. That's what's up. All right, sync is whack. Okay, anyone here in IT? All right. Add video delay to sync with audio. Interesting. Okay, I'll keep rolling with it. Let me make my way down to the bottom here. Does CX need to be applied with warmth or heat, or can it be applied while it's cool outside? For example, Milo isn't typically applied until later in the months, where heat can help break down the product as well. Okay, so iFish, let me kind of clean that up just a little bit here. Milo is going to have a faster release in the summer because it's warmer, because you have higher microbial activity. So the increase in microbial activity means a faster digestion of those dead microbes that come in a product like Milorganite. So that is the advantage of doing it when it's warmer outside. Now, Carbon X is not an organic fertilizer. It is not broken down. It does not release through secondary microbe digestion. A component of it does, but not the entirety of the fertilizer. The majority of the fertilizer, 70% of the fertilizer, would be instantaneous. The 30% is going to break down by a variety of means. One will be infiltration as it works its way through the biochar. Another will be microbial degradation, mineralization because of the litter portion. So it is not purely a secondary digestion. So short answer, yes, you can throw it down when it's cool outside. Long answer, as I explained. I hope that helps. You know what I'm saying? Just jump down to the bottom here. I have some puddling in my yard when it rains. I did aerate and RGS in the summer. Did another round of aerate a couple weeks ago. Should I keep throwing it down? How long between apps? Terry, that is a good question. I don't know a firm answer on that. What I would do, Terry, is I'm sure you've read everything that Colonel Korn has put out on the lawn forum, and he did a really good job of explaining exactly what he did to get the results he got. I would follow his results because I don't know. I've never used it in that regard. I've never attempted to get those kind of results with it. From a scientific standpoint, I can understand how it came about, and I can understand, what would prompt things to flush through the soil like that. But as far as a standard recommended program to make that happen consistently across multiple different soil types, man, I wouldn't even begin to know what to tell you. It is way more complicated than I would be able to do. That is just, unfortunately, not something I'll be able to answer wholeheartedly. Everything is jumping around on my end. Is everything okay with y'all? Because I cannot even scroll down the chat, and I can't tell if the computer has completely lagged down into nothing, or this is just perfectly normal. We're just 5 minutes in. Just another day in paradise on the live stream where it's incredibly difficult to follow anything. You know what I mean? Okay, here we go. Who won the Super Bowl? The Pats. Boo. Prodiamine, Pre-em, overseeded last fall. New seed growth in high traffic areas. Would like them to thicken up this spring. Forgo Prodiamine altogether in this area or scratch and grow. That's a great question, Dane. It could go either way. So in my opinion, I would go ahead and put Prodiamine down in those areas and do everything you could to help that thicken up. So something like a super high rate of RGS on that. Something like 12 ounces to the 1,000. 12 ounces? 1, 2, 3 gallons per acre, 4 gallons per. I would start at 9 ounces per 1,000. Something like that in that area. Applying it every 2 to 4 weeks. Maybe even throwing a little aerate in every 2 to 4 weeks at the same time to help that catch up with the rest of it. Now, not only is that a high traffic area, that's going to be unnaturally compacted because of everything, the dog that keeps going or whatever it is that's causing that. I'm just assuming it's a dog. But we'll say it's kids. It's where kids play. Anything you can do to help alleviate the resistance those roots will face as they establish will mean in more dense and aesthetic top growth. So alleviate that restriction on the development of the roots. Anything you can do to do that. Just an easy way to do that would be with something like aerate and RGS. Real quick, Benjamin ZBT. I'll go ahead and blow this out of the water if there's anybody who's watching who cares. Here's kind of the deal on Carbon X. We are still scrambling to get things out of the door. In reality, what we're doing is we had 6 months to take a project from purely existing on a sheet of paper to a full-scale, 100% optimized manufacturing plant. And we are just not there yet. I will say this, that there's no one in the world that is working harder on this than John Borden. Big shout out to him because, the guy has sacrificed everything to be in Kentucky full-time to make this happen as quickly as possible. There's been some things we've learned through trial and error that is working, some things that are not working. Monday, we got to make a couple of quick repairs on some conveyors. Once that goes, we're going to start running again and see if we can't get some Carbon X out the door. Now, for homeowners, I don't know how quickly that's going to be. We're going to fill the pro orders first, and that's strictly because a lot of them have already paid for it. The majority of them have already paid for it, so they're going to get theirs first. The people that have paid are going to get theirs first. Then, in reality, the amount we're able to crank out in a day, if we can get a full day's production, actually probably like a full 5 days production, we'll have all the pro orders filled and trucks to Pete and Allen. So it's not going to be long. We are this close. Every time we get to the point where we think it's happening, a piece of equipment will break, or we'll make a mistake on the programming end of things, and we'll have to shut it down, reprogram it, make a repair, and then run it again. But we are so close. We are so close. I can't stress that this is extremely difficult. In reality, there were 2 people that came up with the concept. And then, we had an engineer get involved, and then we have our plant manager, and, we have 4 key people right now that are running the entirety of the operation, and it is way more work than 4 people can handle, but we are going to get it done. Even if it kills me, we will get it done. And that's how I will say about that. I will leave it pretty much at that. Due to snow's pollutant scrubbing abilities, can a large snowmelt affect soil pH more so than rain? That's a good question, Long Guardian. I honestly don't know the answer to that. Now, if I had to guess, the pollutant scrubbing abilities of a large snow probably has to do with the length of exposure it would have. So, whereas you get a rain, it's already in a liquid state and can move from an area relatively quickly. Whereas snow typically melts over a longer period of time, giving whatever pollutant it may be longer access to longer access to water. So the effect that would have on soil pH, yes, it could. I think that's anecdotal at best, though, and I would not think snow would have a tremendous long-term effect. Any sort of effect that would happen from a buffering point of view, it would happen relatively quickly, and it would revert back relatively quickly. I seeded lateral spread turf type tall fescue on bare dirt in October. It sprouted and pouted. I was never able to get a mow in before winter. Will I be safe applying Pro Diamine, or should I hold off until I get a few mows in? Aaron, if it were me, I would go ahead and put Pre-emergent on top of it, because I would rather deal with trying to get some stunted grass to flush out than I would be trying to kill a whole host of grassy weeds. Shorter cut or taller cut for Kentucky bluegrass. Alex, it depends on how hard you want to work. Here's the reality of it. Turf grass is not for the faint of heart. It is your results are 100% relative to the amount of work you put into it. If you're willing to mow every day, every other day, every 3 days, and use something like growth regulators, then by all means, yes, you can have a shorter cut grass. Look at Connor Ward. Look at his Kentucky bluegrass. I know other people like G-Man over on the Lawn Forum. Kentucky bluegrass can maintain it at a low height of cut. And the reason being is that it really comes down to their cultural practices. If you have the adequate cultural practices to meet certain stresses you're putting on the lawn, aka mowing, then you can make things like that work. So again, it comes down to the amount of effort you want to put into keeping it mowed. Papa and Nanaslunk, can you give a better understanding of the nitrogen sources in Carbon X and the differences of release, etc., with urea, nitrate, chicken? Okay, here are the sources. We have a specialty homogenized urea and ammonium sulfate. It's a urea liquor and an ammonium sulfate liquor that is then rolled into a prill. We bring it in from overseas. It's up in the Viking area of the world. Sweden, Denmark, that region is where it's manufactured. And they made a little bit of a deal for us. They didn't necessarily want to sell it to us, so it took some hand turning, but we finally convinced them to. So we import that product, and that makes up half of Carbon X. The 2404 is half of that product. The other half of the product is an 818 with 4% iron, and we make that product with ammonium sulfate, chicken litter, biochar, sulfate of potash, muriate of potash, some micronutrients, RGS. That all goes into that product. And then we blend it 50-50. So I'm working with ammoniacal nitrogen, urea nitrogen, organic nitrogen. We're controlling the variation of releases in those with things like the biochar and even the chicken litter, because it's all homogenized, right? So we homogenized the ammonium sulfate with the chicken litter, with the biochar, with the iron, and it's to give that slow release effect. And the big kicker of using the RGS in that, this is typically how I describe it, right? So Carbon X biochar is your storage. That is a moving truck that has a tail end full of furniture. Your humic portion of that is going to be your mover. Those will be the guys that get out and take things from the back of that moving truck and bring it into your house, right? So carbon storage, humic delivery. And an easy way to think about that is, so carbon likes charges, right? It's very conductive. Humic is more of a chelator. It's a coater. It wraps things. It puts a claw around it in a highly specialized shape that allows it to move into the plant tissue easier. Whether that be root tissue or leaf tissue, it makes that movement from one part into the plant easier for the plant, because it's not necessarily easy for plants to take up metal ions. So by giving it a chelation effect, it allows it to move easier. The whole point of the biochar is just to impede and hold on to the movement of water through it, which ultimately delays a little bit of that release. And then as things are solubilized, they can't help but kind of grab onto it because of how conductive the carbon is. I hope that answers the question. The whole premise there is use the biochar to slowly release your nutrients. But it's not really just the biochar. It's the biochar, it's the litter, it's the humic, it's the kelp. They all work together. Okay, let me make my way up here. I think Kevin McCarthy says, I seeded turf-type tall fescue. What's up, Colonel Corn? How are you, good sir? And Kentucky bluegrass and bare ground in Wisconsin last fall. Pretty even coverage, but thinner than expected. Should I avoid prodiamine in the Reno areas this spring? Split app or go for it? I would go for it. Here's one thing that, if you've got Kentucky bluegrass, that's going to fill in pretty aggressively. If you've got turf-type tall fescue, just because it looks thin when it's seeded doesn't mean it won't grow in thick as well. There's been times where I thought I would need to do some touch-up seeding in the spring, and you would be incredibly blown away at how much ends up filling in just from the development of that plant and how much area it would consume. So, Kevin, easy answer to that, get your prodiamine down and be done with it. You would have a much happier time dealing with a lawn without crabgrass versus a lawn with crabgrass. You seem fairly confident in all of this. I commend you. Usually this would break a person and would not show their face or want to talk about it. Keep going, Matt. I have no idea what you're talking about, Casey. I love you to death, but brother, I have no idea. Yeah, you're welcome. Casey, you're talking about keeping everybody updated with Carbon X. Yeah, it is what it is. Again, I can't stress enough. We've got 4 guys that had 6 months to turn this from a concept into a multi-million-dollar manufacturing facility. And that level of pressure we put on ourselves is insane. But at the same time, we're up for the challenge and we're going with it. And I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, I can show you a text message that John Borden sent me earlier tonight. And he said, trucks are moving by the end of the night, whether I am scooping up, whether I am using my hands to scoop fertilizer into bags. So that is the level of dedication we have here. I mean, and you know, it's not just that I'm dedicated to it. I mean, that's how dedicated the four of us are right now. I mean, it's just, it is what it is. It is incredibly stressful, but you know, hey, we are having a ton of fun doing this. You know, it is what it is. It's a learning curve. Jason Grubb, what percent is fast release, slow release in Carbon X? 30% is slow release, 70% is fast release. How long does the feeding last? It will be somewhere in the 8 to 10 week range. Yeah, the issues at the factory. I mean, you know, hey, we're all learning. We're all learning. Trust me, when I'm up there and I've got a Sawzall in my hand and I start cutting on things, you know, I mean, that's where we're at, baby. We're gonna go on fire with it. Look at this. Been busy on dates and working on triplex cutting units. Ooh. My uncle has common Bermuda. He maintains it 3 to 4 inches. He burns his lawn every spring instead of scalping. I'm visiting him next week to put down a Pre-em. Will burning a lawn decrease prodiamine efficacy? In theory, yes, Telly Coleman, and I will give you an example of this. I would much prefer you to do your burn first, then apply your prodiamine. And I'll tell you why. Whenever people would burn their lawns, and this is purely anecdotal evidence, and I guess you could say, you know, heat is one of the things that causes degradation of prodiamine, as is sunlight exposure. But when I worked in Fayette County, just outside of Memphis, farm area, people would burn off their dormant Bermuda grass at the start of every spring. The problem was I had already put down 2 applications of prodiamine and guaranteed if they burned their yard off in April after I got down my pre-emergent, they were going to be dealing with weeds. And it wasn't early on, but it was around that 4th of July. It would hit its pinnacle and then drop really quickly just from weed pressure. So if you're going to burn it off early. Burn it off early, expose it, whatever the case may be. Just be done with it. Tell him when you get there, call him in the morning, tell him to go ahead, burn it off now, and then when you get out there to put down your prodiamine, you don't have to worry about cooking it off. There is something about fire at high hundreds of degrees Fahrenheit, high hundreds of degrees Fahrenheit and vapor that just do not go well together. So, yes, it will definitely decrease prodiamine efficacy, in my opinion. That is just my opinion. I do not know scientifically for that to be a fact, but my interpretation of the science would say that it is likely the case. Hey, Matt, any combination of next products that shouldn't be tank mixed? What are some good combos? RGS and Air 8, for example. You can tank mix those. No major issues there. The ones I would be careful with would be Air 8 combined with... Look, I see Ridge Runner come in here. Yes, Ridge Runner, that 30% slow release, it would be the combination of the biochar and litter and ammonium sulfate homogenized. I hope that answers your question. Okay, now let me go back to this. Air 8 and things that have being in a solution, when it's applied, you will have a higher instance of staining. So keep that in mind. One, it may come out of solution, so you may not get great foliar uptake. It might mean you can still get root uptake, but it will also increase staining. So do not spray white vinyl fences. So be careful tank mixing aerate with other products. Is there enough RGS in Carbonex to reduce or eliminate the liquid form? What I would recommend, Jason, is that if you're applying Carbon X, do not be applying RGS on top of it, but you can follow up a Carbon X application with an application of RGS. Y'all lost me when I was explaining the next mixed. Can y'all hear me now? Can you hear me? Still can't hear me? Let me check and see what's going on here. It says I'm going. Can you hear me? Comments, please, so I can see what is going on. I know there's like a 20-second delay here. Okay, we're good now. Okay, so the next mix I was concerned with is aerate with microgreen or green effect, anything that's high iron. Again, it can decrease the solubility of the micronutrients in the tank mix, and it can also increase the rate at which it stains. It'll increase, if it's not in solution, it will oxidize faster and therefore increase the staining. Jason Grubb, is there enough RGS and Carbonex to reduce or eliminate the liquid form? Probably not, no. But what it will do, if you're applying Carbonex, you will not need to apply RGS at the same time. So you can alternate where you can do a Carbonex app and then follow up with an RGS app after the fact. You don't have to do it on top of it. Again, it is in the 2404 Carbonex, it is 1 gallon per acre or 3 ounces per 1,000 square feet, assuming you apply Carbonex at 3 pounds per 1,000. Okay. Would tenacity be a good pre-em option for an area I need to spring seed due to utility work, as well as hammering down next products? Dave Rees, yeah. Tenacity would be a good one until you can get it up, get it established, and then make your transition over to a longer term, maybe like your denitrile, your dinitrile, your DNIs, your prodiamine or dimension if you need to. That's if you can get it up and get it established. You can definitely do that with tenacity. One thing to keep in mind is that you're going to have to make those applications every 28 days. Failing to do so will often mean that you're still dealing with the weeds anyway. Ground going to survive since it can't expand out of it, if that makes sense, even if it is proper. It seems it is just what is done these days as a fall sale, just because everyone else does it. Jordan K, buddy, I am really giving this a whirl here. I do not know what you're asking. I'm going to try and make sense of it one more time here. Ground going to survive since it can't expand out of it, if that makes sense, even if it isn't proper. It seems it is just what is done these days as a fall sale, just because everyone else does it. Brother, I do not understand, man. If you could try and structure that question in another way, I will answer you the best I can. Did pre-em today due to the 2-week spring. A little early for here, but didn't want to chance it. No raining till Wednesday. Could wait till then or need to before. If it's going to rain on Wednesday, you will be fine, John Teague. You will be good to go. My plan since I had to early is apply again in late April, early May, and then use Spectacle for fall pre-em. John, for your second application, I would probably do that closer to mid-April or even the end of March. I would get it down before your crabgrass germination period, so March to mid-April time frame. I would not stretch that out to late April, early May. You could, but you're starting to get a little squirrely there. Let's see. David says, planning to do entire lawn with prodiamine, just skipping the seeding areas until established. That's perfect, David. That is perfect. Paul has a great question here. How the hell do you clean the tanks on a permagreen when you can't drain everything out of them? Leaves a lot in the bottom that you can't drain. Paul, I use what is it called? One of those wet dry vacs. I cannot think of what it's called, but it's a wet dry vac, and I vacuum out the bottom of it. There's a drain valve on the back where you can run material from your pump just straight out of a chute on the back. And you can catch it in something like a 2.5 gallon jug. So typically that's what I would do. And then the very, very, very last of it, I would get out with a wet vac. I hope that helps. Look at that. Oh, what's up, Tim? What's going on, man? I got your snap today, but I was in Asheville with the family, trying to pay them a little bit of attention before I have to scoot out to Kentucky again. Spray companies in the transitional zone. Prevention of hunting billbug is done in September with an imidacloprid combined with bifenthrin. There we go. For those of you guys with hunting billbugs in the transition zone, you'll see it a lot on zoysia and Bermuda. It is shopback. Thank you. I see that. Imidacloprid combined with bifenthrin. Very good. Very good. Let's see. Dane says, assuming Carbonex is primary fert on a 2-month app cycle, would you also use green punch to bolster color with some extra in? If so, how often? Yeah, I like that. But Dane, I don't know where you're at, and I don't know if I could recommend you running a 2-month app cycle. I do not like fertilizer cycles at all. My philosophy on this is you apply nitrogen when you are leading into a period of heavy growth. So whenever you're making an application, it's not just to treat the symptoms you're dealing with now, but it's also to at least give you some sort of general protection over the next 6 weeks. So let me give you an example of that. When I'm applying something like, we'll say pre-emergent. Yes, I'm putting down pre-emergent in February. Is it to control the weeds that are in the lawn in February? No, it's to control the weeds that will be in the lawn in May, June time frame. So it is a setup for what's to come. And it's like, you know, when you're watching the nutrient utilization curve on, you know, Chris Helms and I were talking about C3 plants earlier today. If you watch the nutrient utilization, it is not an exact time frame that you see nitrogen and potassium being utilized. You'll see an initial spike start with nitrogen, followed by a spike of potassium. So that spike in nitrogen utilization causes that utilization of the potassium. So it doesn't consistently go like this, so you can say, oh yeah, here's my first cycle, I'm going to hit it. And then 2 months later, here's my second cycle. It doesn't look like that. So you're dealing with warm season grass, it's going to look like this. Womp, womp, something like that. So it'll start in May, peak in July, and then decline as the days get shorter. If you're dealing with fescue, you'll look like this. You know, there's February, you know, March, April, May, and then drop down for June, July, August, September, and then you'll get another little peak here. So if you're gonna apply Carbon X, you want to hit it during your growth periods, right? So typically for cool season grass, you would be doing that in your fall, and then lightening up in the spring. You know, so heavy in the fall, lighter in the spring. If you're dealing with warm season grass, you start out heavy, and then light as you lose less and less daylight. So I hope that makes sense. I don't want you to think that you should just apply it every 2 months regardless. That is, I would not recommend that. I remember you concerned about granular prodiamine on some of your lawns. Did it work as good as liquid? Lambert, that's actually a great question. Yes, it did. And it scared me to death. I mean, it made me really nervous. But it did work. Now, let me give you some feedback on that. I ran my second application as a liquid because I did not like the granular. So there we go. Tim, when is the best time to apply humic? Typically, I recommend it in combination with a fertilizer application. So because humic does have those chelation capabilities, and due to the lignins in it, it can help do things like stabilize your nitrogen. Then I would include that with a fertilizer application to stabilize that fertilizer, increase that foliar uptake if you are making a foliar penetrative type application, or in the event you've got micronutrients in the tank, it's there, it's ready to go. It was a 2-part question, Jason. Man, I am sorry. Can you just copy and paste those bam into the chat so I can catch it, preferably not in a 2-parter, because the second part versus the first part, I lost it. But try and type that out and copy and paste it in like 2 parts or something like that. Came in late because the game is saying something about an 818 4% iron. Jason, so there are 2 prills in Carbon X. One is an 818 with 4% iron, and then the other is a specialized homogenized urea and ammonium sulfate. So the 818 is a homogenized product, and then the other nitrogen source is a homogenized urea ammonium sulfate. And we combine those two to have a pH of around 6.9. They're blended. It's got a pH of 6.9. So the goal there is to not have that long-term acidifying effect on the soil. There will be... it's one of the things we're actually testing right now, but it's going to take a really long time to get the feedback on what the pH does to figure out. What if we're crazy and do a slow drip of Carbon X into our Kentucky bluegrass, say like 1 pound of CX per 1,000 every week? So that would be a 1/4 pound of nitrogen a week. That is really high, man. That is really high. You could do that every 2 weeks during your peak growing season. Typically, I would recommend loading that in the fall, and then as you get into the spring, backing it down. I mean, the answer doesn't change there, J-Pink. It's the same thing. Now, if you really wanted to do a slow drip, and you have a way to spray out sediment, then you may be able to put that into a solution, dissolve it, and spray it, at like 0.1 pounds of N during the growing season, or even lower than that, maybe like 0.05 pounds of N. What pH should I keep my soil to grow Mary Jane grass? Look at Grass Monkey Lawn Care coming in here. You want to look at your pH nutrient utilization chart. Typically, most plants are going to grow better slightly on the acidic scale. So I would say a 6.5 to 7 would be more ideal. Okay, stickers in the yard. What is your process of getting them out of the yard in the spring? Stickers in the yard. What is your process of getting them out of the yard in the spring? What kind of stickers are you talking about, Grass Monkey? I don't know. If you're talking about like cockleburrs or something in the spring, or are you talking about sandburrs? If you're dealing with sandburrs, you probably take a preventative approach with something like a combo product with like prodiamine, sulfentrazone, and one of the ALS inhibitors. I don't know which though. And if you're dealing with like cockleburrs, then you probably want to run like a 2,4-D ester. Okay, but new turf type tall fescue sod. Oh, wait. Hit it with an app of 18-24-12 today, 9 ounces per m of RGS. Don't think it is established, so want to do an app of tenacity. What should I do? Do I have to do a second app of tenacity before I do an app of prodiamine in April? No, you don't have to do a second app of tenacity. And why don't you think it's established? So there's an easy thing you can do, Thomas, to check and see if it's established, and that's go pull on it. And if it is pulling up out of the ground really easily, then it's not established. And don't go applying something like tenacity or prodiamine. Just live with it. It's sod. It typically resists weeds better. So just be careful there and do not get too trap happy on that. I read that JPing and it was a Freudian slip there. Do not get overly zealous and think you should just put it down because you're worried about it. But, long term here, make sure you do have establishment. And then once it is established and you're not pulling it out, then you can go ahead and make an application of something like your prodiamine, and you don't have to worry about the tenacity. Or you can start with an app of tenacity and then make your second application prodiamine instead of tenacity. I hope that helps. What's up? What's up, William Poole? Tuning at 9:01 is warming up fast. My grass is going crazy. I don't know what to do. What can I do to help it? First and foremost, get down to pre-emergent, especially in Memphis. It's time to rock and roll. So get down your either prodiamine or dimension. Definitely go that route. Then from there, cut it. And I mean, we're talking about cutting realistically every other day or so, or every 3 days. And that's just kind of the nature of this early spring growth you get on cool season grass, especially in a place like Memphis, where you're going to have higher soil temperatures more quickly. So if you want to get real fancy with it, now would be the time to, you still might be a little bit early, but you could go ahead and play with it and start doing things like T-necks. You could definitely do some T-necks, and that will help. Could help slow some things down. Also, keep your nitrogen off of it, or at least back your nitrogen way down. I'm also looking at some control here from Texas A&M for sandburr. Looks like they're using some Oryzalin, which is old, or Ryzalin, Oryzalin, as a pre-emergent. Also pendimethalin. One thing to keep in mind, those do work on crabgrass, but they do not last very long. So in terms of timing of that, you should time that specifically closer to the germination period of your sandburr. To be honest, I have never lived in an area where I've had to deal with sandburrs. So I would take a 1-2 approach. I would put down a pre-emergent it says here, pendimethalin. Put down your pendimethalin. And also post-emergent. And I would probably use something, maybe even like a combination like the Dismiss NXT product. I'd probably roll my own, like a containing sulfentrazone and carfentrazone. Real quick, I'm going to search University of Tennessee sandburr and see if they have anything listed in it that I am overlooking. Sometimes there is a website called TennesseeWeedScience.org that can have a lot of information. Oh, wait, what is it? It is TennesseeTurfGrassWeeds.org. TennesseeTurfGrassWeeds.org. It's a good resource. It talks a lot about herbicide rotation, and it also helps some with selecting herbicides in general for control. Okay, I'm going to go down that road. Let's see. Ground going to survive when it can't expand out even if it seems it is just what is done these days is fall sale just because everyone else does it. Where's the second part? I did not get your first part, Jordan K. I did not get your first part. Texas welder, no sir. It is way too high nitrogen. It will not. How many pounds of nitrogen do you suggest from Carbon X on cool season grass? Probably maxing out 3. I mean, if you're feeling real froggy, maybe you could go up to 4, but you'll be all right. But 3 should be ample. Like this year, we did like 2.5 to 3 on my lawns. Now it wasn't Carbon X, but it was just straight quick release fertilizer, and I had really good lawns. So, I know you can do it with the CRV, John Pinkerton. Redbird Lawn Care. Look at this. I love my CRV, by the way. It's a great vehicle. Let's see here. What's up, Steve Gordon? Did I see Steve Willie in there? Look at that. Take a large McDonald's cup and start bailing it out or put a nail through the tank bottom. What's up, Steve Gordon? Was going to combine prodiamine and RGS when spraying. Good idea or bad idea to combine? It's fine to combine them. One thing to keep in mind is that organic acids can have a detrimental effect on herbicides. Steve, I don't know if you're a homeowner or a pro. If you're a pro, you can tank mix those two, no problem whatsoever. Just make sure you spray it out that day. Don't let it sit for a week in a 200-gallon solution and go spray with it. Organic acids can have a neutralizing effect on herbicides. So as long as you're mixing it and spraying it same day, it's not an issue. You won't see any issue with it at all. But if you're going to let it sit for a week, the potential to see an issue is there. I've never let it sit for a week to test it. I just let other people do the testing and then tell me what to do and what not to do on that regard. How does nitrogen come from lightning and precipitation and turn into nitrites? That's a great question, Eric Hughes. I don't know. I'm guessing that with a lightning arc, that is a very high energy, high intensity, that is heating lots of things into a gas really quickly, already combined with the atmospheric nitrogen, zoom arcing and allowing that to form into in nitrite compounds to form. Let's look up the nitrite formula. A little chemistry class here. NO2 negative. So it is a negative ion. Let's see here. What is nitrous oxide? I forgot. For those of you that ever use nitrous oxide, N2O. Interesting. So nitrite is NO2. So yeah, it would definitely have to do with just the energy and intensity of that arc across atmospheric oxygen and atmospheric nitrogen. I believe our atmosphere is made up of, what is it, like 50, 60, 70% nitrogen? So yeah, I would say that that's what allows that bond to happen and make its way, solubilize with atmospheric moisture and then make its way to the ground. I mean, it's a wild guess. I don't know, man. I'm not a chemist. I'm a very particularly hack when it comes to chemistry. I play like one on TV. Hope that helps. Let's see. Dennis Page, Carbon X coming. How hard can I lay this down? Utah dirt. How hard can you lay it down, or how hard should you lay it down? Because those are two totally different answers there. I would stick to the recommended label rate of 3 pounds per 1,000 square feet. If you're feeling froggy, go 4 pounds. But if you make a mistake, Just warning you, the potentials for it to happen there. Speed zone or surge on cool season grass, what's your pick? It depends. So, Grass Monkey Lawn Care, I did a roll your own herbicide database cheat sheet type deal to, let's see. Let me see if I can pull this up. Bear with me. Bear with me. I think I got it. In terms of the amount of actual three-way content that is in Speed Zone, one, it is an ester-based formulation, so you're going to have a more powerful knockdown in cooler weather, whereas Surge is amine formulation, but has sulfentrazone as the kicker to give you that increased efficacy at a reduced rate that is not as sensitive to warm temperature. So you can spray Surge when it's a little bit warmer outside than you could something like Speed Zone that is a 2,4-D ester. Now, one thing to keep in mind, okay, so here we go. Surge has, in an acre, 37.5 ounces of three-way and about 1 ounce per acre of sulfentrazone. That is a really, really low rate of sulfentrazone. So while it may yellow nutsedge, it will definitely not kill it. So in terms of cool season grass and how to utilize these two products, you would use Speed Zone, which uses carfentrazone as the kicker, when it's cooler outside. And then sometime in mid-spring, you would transition over to Surge with Dismiss as the kicker with a higher heat tolerance. I hope that answers your question. Nitrous oxide equals laughing gas. That's right. Steve Williams, Matt, can I pick up carbon X from the plant? It's only about 45 minutes from me. It shouldn't be a problem, Steve. Shoot me an email. You got to let me know because I'm not always there, and you got to understand, like, we're in the middle of nowhere, and it is full-fledged industrial stuff going on there. So we can't just have people walking in and walking around. So we have to schedule that. So keep that in mind. Let's see. My days following fish says nitrous oxide is into. Man, that sounds like you were down with disease back in those days. If you know what I'm saying, Toby Howard. Woohoo! Welcome. This is the farmhouse. All right, Lawn Guardian, you have a good one, sir. Thank you. Chandler Hall says, would it harm Bermuda grass to spray turf lawn ester with a three-way before green up? Would it harm much after green up? It's Bermuda mixed with tall fescue in Middle Tennessee. No, but one thing it can do, it can delay the green up of Bermuda grass. Keep that in mind. So, while it's still dormant, yeah, you can definitely apply turf lawn ester. If you catch it in transition, it will delay green up. If you spray it after green up, it's going to yellow it pretty good. It's not going to kill it, but it will knock it down pretty good. Steve Willie, keep your money, sir. I don't need it. Thank you, Steve. Love you, buddy. Connor Ward, look at this. Loves fish and has been to loads of show. That is hilarious. Now, Steve, you can't take your name off of it. You can't retract that message. I'm going to mail you a check for $2 just to say take it back. I just called you out to the world. If my soil was pH of 6.3, would Carbon X be okay with the ammonium sulfate? Ryan, yeah, it would. And the reason being is that we've got lots of things in it that are high pH to help with the low pH of the ammonium sulfate. So here's one thing to keep in mind about ammonium sulfate. It is not the sulfur in ammonium sulfate that acidifies the soil. It's the ammonium ion. When the ammonium ion breaks down, it releases hydrogen ions, which is what causes the acidification. So the goal would be to neutralize those ammonium ions as quickly as possible, right? So tie them up. Neutralize those hydrogen ions as quickly as possible. So, tying them up or neutralizing them with calcium. There is a decent amount of calcium purely from the litter standpoint. We are also putting in some higher pH products. Biochar in general is high pH. It can be somewhere around like an 8.5 to a 9. So the way we get all that to come together, it comes out to about a pH that's going to range anywhere from a 6.5 to a 6.9. So you would be okay. However, if you're still dealing with a 6.3, I would still work on raising your pH. What road is the plant on in Calhoun? 1191 Kentucky 815, Calhoun, Kentucky 42327. How about that for the address? I just gave it out on the air. I probably should not have done that. Can I take that back? Contact me, Eric Hughes, at thegrassfactor@gmail.com, and I will give you my business email address, and we'll let you know about scheduling things and that sort. Matt, could you talk about all the wonderful things that Carbon X brings to the lawn? Carbon X brings to the lawn a way to slowly release nutrients. It's as simple as that. I could tell you the whole world of what I hope Carbon X does, and I could tell you the world of what it doesn't do, but simply put, the advantage of using Carbon X is that it's a way to slowly release nutrients that, one, does not rely on microplastics, polymer coatings, biology blockers like Uflex, Umax. It doesn't rely on sulfur. It doesn't rely on formaldehyde like your ureaform or methylene urea or triazone urea. They all have their place, and it's not relying on purely organics to release either. It's a bridge product. It's a combination product. It takes a little bit from each thing, combines it all together to have its own function. So it's just a method of releasing nutrients slowly into the soil. Okay, what is the best way to kill a Bermuda lawn and plant tall fescue? Adrian, why would you want to do that, buddy? Oh my goodness. I would do blanket applications of Pylex, glyphosate, and Fusilade. Probably 2 or 3 applications of it. Those 2 to 3 applications will be about as strong of a kill as you could possibly get, and then seed your tall fescue. Will prodiamine or dithiopyr control common Lespedeza moderate infestation in St. Louis with turf-type tall fescue? I notice it's not labeled on prodiamine. Yes, if you have decent turf density, yes, you will not have to deal with it. If you do not have turf density, yes, you will have to deal with it. So, is one better than the other? Dimension may be a little bit better in that regard. However, typically when I would deal with common Lespedeza is later in the season, and it would be after Dimension was long gone from the soil. So, hope that helps. Just wondering, will Carbon X be complementing next or vice versa? Or should they be treated as their own programs working together? They're different, so I would say treat them as their own programs working together. So the primary focus of Carbon X is applying NP and K and micronutrients. The primary focus of the next line is typically applying a biostimulant. So they're complements to each other. Now, you can do liquid fertility with the next products. So, you can run the Green Punch, the 1801, you can run the Green Start, the 901, and do things for your N and K. It's just a granular option versus a liquid option. Toby, one of the... Oh, man, there ain't no such thing as the best fish show ever. It is all good. Let's see. Fall aeration overseed fescue versus slit seeded in. What is the answer? Will the plant prosper germinating in the deep aeration hole? Should it really be done? Or is it just what everyone does? Okay, that's the first part of your question there, Jordan K. I got you now. Slit seeding is the way to go. It's nothing against aeration. Aeration is developed to alleviate compaction and manage organic matter in sand-based playing surfaces or surfaces that experience unnaturally high rates of compaction, i.e. the 50-yard line of a football field that gets trampled to death over a season. How do you eliminate the compaction of 300-pound men stomping literal mud holes into the ground week in and week out? You pull giant cores out of the ground, you sweep them up, discard them, and then fill them up with sand to keep them open. Do we do that in home lawns? No. Do we need to do that in home lawns? Probably not. Should it really be done? Probably not. Should you aerate to overseed your fescue? Probably not. Will you get better results slit seeding it? Probably. Hope that helps. Dallas grass has been an issue in some yards here and seems to be hard as hell to control or get rid of. What would you suggest? Handle it or get rid of it? Grass mugging, I would recommend combining in cool season grass Pilex with Fusilade or over the top Fluazafop. That combination seems to be the best. It will still take multiple applications. If you're dealing with it in warm season grass, I would combine Revolver with Celsius or use a combination product like Tribute Total. Those would be your best options. Do not, and I repeat, please do not use MSMA just because you can buy it on Amazon. That is not a smart thing to do, and I will tell you why. If that continues to happen and people like the EPA catch wind of it, they will begin taking away all kinds of products from all kinds of people, homeowners and professionals alike, because people cannot pay attention to the restrictions and rules and laws that exist on labels, and they will ultimately think we are not grown enough adults to take care of ourselves. Therefore, we do not deserve to have these products at all. Do not use MSMA. That's my caveat. And I'm not going to say why I'm bringing that up, but for those that I may or may not have found some videos of people spraying MSMA with a bad label, and by bad label I mean new label, meaning you can't do it on homeowner lawns. And please do not get this industry taken away from me. This industry has given me a lot. It has given me a family, a house, kids, cars, friends, thousands of friends, people I can call to at any instance. Please do not attempt to take this industry away from me. This industry is everything to me. It is what I have in this world. If you're going to do something illegal with MSMA, don't talk about it. I'm not the police. I'm not going to call the police on you, but do not advertise it. It is a see no evil, speak no evil kind of deal. I don't care what you do in the bounds of your own house as long as you do not hurt other people. But by all means, if you begin to mess with my industry, I will come after you. And I mean that because not everybody is a moron and will advertise or promote doing illegal things to the public. And I'm sorry to get so amped about this, but this, again, I cannot stress what this industry means to me. And I've been letting this build and thinking about it for the last 24 hours, and I'm on the verge of losing my mind. Do not mess with my industry. I'm sorry for yelling. I feel better now. How is everyone? I mean that. If you're gonna do some dumb stuff like that, just don't advertise it. Don't tell me about it. Don't tell your neighbor about it. Don't tell the lawn forum about it. Don't tell the Discord about it. Don't contact me on Instagram at thegrassfactor and mention it. Don't send me an email at thegrassfactor@gmail.com and mention it. Keep it to yourself. I don't need to know. The Department of Agriculture doesn't need to know. The EPA does not need to have someone bored at the office and hop on the old YouTube search bar and type in monosodium methanearsenate and find somebody up in Maine spraying MSMA all over turf-type tall fescue or colonial bentgrass or whatever the case may be, and then be like, what is this moron doing? That is a sigh of frustration. You know, the first thing, all right, if we're going down that wormhole, I'm going to rant and I'm going with it. The first thing, if there is someone on YouTube that promotes themselves as being a professional applicator, ask to see their license. And I'll tell you right now, you go ask Pete Denny to see his license, proudly he would show you his license. Because that license means everything to him. If you go ask the Lone Ginger in Utah, he will gladly show you his license because that license means everything to him. Paul Outlaw would love to show you his license, proudly display it. There are tons of guys that are pro applicators on the internet that are very willing and proud to show their license. If you want to look up my license, you can go to the Tennessee Department of Agriculture. 81327 is my license number. Go look it up. Establish a baseline. First and foremost, make sure they are licensed. Secondly, if they are not licensed, call their ass to the table. Throw them under the bus. Because, and I get it, everyone needs a chance. Everybody needs a chance. But again, my priority is the preservation of this industry. Whether you're a DIY applicator or you're a professional applicator, there are some rules and restrictions we need to operate in for the greater good. That's why you see us lawn care guys come together. That's why you see people like Connor Ward is dealing with, he's the lawn rebel. But Connor isn't out there spraying MSMA on his yard. Or if he is, he's not telling anybody about it because he's smart. But you see people like Connor Ward come together with a guy like me. A little bit different, but we have the same insight in mind. Or me with a guy like Alan Hain. Different, but with the same insight in mind. Someone like John Perry and me. John Perry, I was so mean to John Perry when I first met him. And I said, you're going to have to earn my respect. And he did. There are a reason why we come in together and have found this community and this unity. And it is all to lift each other up. It is all to lift up the integrity of this industry. Whether you're a DIY applicator or a pro, we are all in this together. Grass Monkey, no, you did not ask the wrong question. You asked the right question. I have been stewing on this for a week. No, 24 hours. I kid. And I'm really not that upset right now. I will laugh about it at this current moment. I will laugh about it. But understand, again, there is some serious implications every time we pick up a backpack sprayer, every time we load a hose-in sprayer, every time we pull out the granular spreader. There are serious implications. We bear a serious responsibility. I'm not kidding in the start of my videos when I say we are stewards of the environment, we are stewards of the planet. It is our responsibility to be responsible. And the reason being is that we hold the power to send the environment south. What if we all collectively took all the chemicals we have in our shed and started pouring them down drains? Bad things would happen. It would register on the Richter scale somewhere, whatever Richter scale is used. For those of you that work in wastewater treatment facilities, would you be able to tell if thousands of gallons of pre-emergent herbicide began showing up in it? That is not good. That's our responsibility. That's our power. Wear it with pride. Wear it with pride. Be responsible. If you don't know, ask. That's why I do this show. Do not go buy MSMA, advertise it to the world, make a 20-minute video about it, make your applications, and then act like it's no big deal. Whoo! I'm going to take a deep breath after that. I need one. Look, that's exactly what Pete said. This is how I feed my family. Do it right. First rule of Fight Club, don't speak of MSMA. There you go. Whew. It's funny, Chris. I see that, Chris. I'm out. I'm tapped. It's 11:40. It's time for me to call it. For those of you that are still watching, thank you. I have no idea how many people are watching right now. It is. I know. I kind of lost my mind there. I got a little squirrely, but I'm serious about it, and I'm telling you right now, I find out about it, I will hold your feet to the fire, and I am not a keeper of the gate, but I will play like one if you begin to take things away from me that were given to me by this industry. Because I will guard this vehemently. I'm going to sit here and stare at the camera for the next 15 minutes just to show how serious I am about that. We're going to take a 15-minute moment of silence. Steve Williams, do not sign in next week as MSMA. Fines of $10,000 for doing something like that. You know, yeah, and that's fine. Sure. Put up a $10,000 fine for spraying that. How are you going to prove it? Do you think the Department of Agriculture has the resources to be able to go out and enforce that? Hell no. They have resource officer, quote unquote, officers that are covering 7 and 8 and 9 county areas. A single person covering hundreds of square miles. There is not a chance in hell that they're going to catch more than 1 out of 10,000 applicators that use MSMA. I'll tell you how it's going to end up happening. And it's going to be someone on YouTube advertising they're using MSMA in a yard. And then the EPA is going to start knocking on everybody's door. They're going to be at my house. They're going to be at Alan's house. They're going to be at all our houses. And that's fine. Come on into my house. It would not be the first time I've been in front of the plant board. It's not the first time I've dealt with the EPA. Come on. But not everybody will be ready for it. And I tell you what, if there is one more rule or regulation or something that gets passed down to me inadvertently, I will come after you. Not physically, emotionally. All right, I feel better. Woo! How about that? Yep, look at that, Jordan K. $450 to the Tennessee Department of Agriculture for a charter renewal. And let me tell you how hard Jordan had to work to get his charter. It is not easy in the state of Tennessee. First, in order to get your license to apply for a charter, to get your license, you have to be a certified applicator for 2 years. 2 years experience as a certified applicator in order to even take your test to get a license or have a 4-year degree. That's it. You have to have an apprenticeship in order to even get it. Jordan can't just be a guy that goes out and mows yards on the weekend and thinks on Tuesday morning, I'm going to go get my license to spray grass. Hell no, it doesn't work that way. Then he takes his license. He gets his license. At that point, he can then apply for his charter. He's got to go get his insurance. He's got to go get a $10,000 bond. He has to make sure. Thanks, Ryan. He's got to go make sure he's got a $2 million incidental. He's got a CYA cover his ass legally. Then he can get his charter number. Then he has to maintain it every year. I am fired up. I'm frustrated is what I am. And I'm sorry. I'm exceptionally animated tonight because I know it's going to be another crazy week ahead of me. And the last 2 weeks have been crazy. And so I'm right now, I'm running off pure passion and raw emotion, baby. I'm just going to let it fly. I'm sending daggers everywhere. Ha! 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 John, who are you in the Discord? Y'all, I'm going to sign out. For those of you that want to follow me on social media, you can on the Discord at discord.gg/HFVSF53. Tune in over there from time to time. If I do not reply to you over the course of the last 2 weeks, moving into the third week, I apologize in advance. I am buried and I have to shut off social media. I have to shut off my phone when I am at this plant working because I've got to get tons of fertilizer out the door as soon as possible. There are people's businesses that depend on it, and they are a primary responsibility. The rate of MDMA on dandelions is 1 ounce per 1,000 square feet, right, Kevin McCarthy? I have no idea because under no circumstance would I ever mess with a derivative of methamphetamine to control dandelions. You got me there, Kevin. I started to read that, and then as I got to the D in MDMA, I was like, wait a second. That's not an S. So if I do not get back to you while I'm at the plant, I apologize. I'll get there. But, you know, it's 11:48. I got to go to Atlanta in the morning, and then in the evening, I got to go to Kentucky. Everybody, I love y'all to death, and I mean that. Everybody who takes an additional step in this industry, in this community, to lift themselves, to educate themselves, to apply more. And I mean that intellectually, and I mean that, John already gave it. Anybody who is after more, and anybody who implicates more, doing more, learning more, being smarter, being more responsible, conducting more trials. Here's the thing, trials are a good thing because it establishes limits. So if you're conducting a trial with something that's off-label, I get it. Don't advertise it, but I get it. You're establishing a new limit. That's how they test these things with the EPA, to establish limits. I love y'all to death. And I mean that. I'm telling you right now. I don't know about the other YouTubers communities. I'm sure we all run in the same circles. But I am so proud of my viewers and everybody I interact with in this community that is after more and is into flexing this complex structure of electrical signals. More. I cannot thank y'all enough. No, Lambert, stop it. Everybody, I love y'all to death. Check me out on the Discord. I gave you the link for that. Check me out on the Lawn Forum. I'm not active on the Lawn Forum. I'll tell you right now. I log in. I check my messages. I lurk. I don't need to be active on the Lawn Forum. Everybody on the Lawn Forum knows way more about turf grass than I do. They are a collective hive mind of highly intelligent human beings. 90% of them are IT guys or engineers. And they're freaking smart. Hang out with them. Get to know those guys. You can find me on Instagram at thegrassfactor. Or send me an email at thegrassfactor@gmail.com. I love y'all. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for putting up with my outburst there. I have been storing it up, and I mean, at about 4 o'clock this morning, it really hit the pinnacle. I mean, the apex was reached. I had summited the proverbial emotional Mount Everest. And I just tumbled down the hill with that explosion there. I mean, I looked like one of those people that was in a tire that's rolling down a hill that just flies off the side of a mountain. That was my descent down the Everest emotional high that I was just on. I love y'all. I love y'all to death, and I mean that. And I would not trade my seat for anybody else's in the world because I am so proud of where I sit. All right, everybody, I'm wrapping it up. Thanks for tuning in tonight. I sure do appreciate it. And we will talk soon. Y'all take it easy. Have a good one.